Do you ever have when you're doing a task like cooking and you look up at the top of the backsplash and you notice the grease and you think to yourself, ooh, I should really clean that soon? Well, the other day I was reminded of something like that. With this iron that I brought down, it just wasn't working as well as it should, so kind of thought, okay, maybe it needs a bit of a clean. So that led me to think about 5 of those tasks that we might forget to do or we don't really think to do because it's not something that frequently occurs, as, for example, vacuuming the house every 2 weeks or something like that. So I thought about 5 of these examples and went ahead and just tackled them and filmed the process. Perhaps these are areas of your own home that you've also forgotten to clean in a while, or maybe it helps you think about other ideas that perhaps need a bit of a clean as well. Now I'm in the kitchen with my iron, ready to give it a bit of a clean. The first thing I would recommend doing with things like this is see if you can find some manuals and read if it says anything about the process of cleaning it. For example, here it says, use the self-clean function every 2 weeks to double the life of your iron and ensure lasting powerful steam. Well, it has been a lot longer than 2 weeks, so it was becoming time for me to give it a bit of a clean again. So with this manual, I came across a section saying not to use vinegar, which is what I originally intended to use. So it says to use a mild household detergent. So I have some all-purpose spray, which has been diluted down a little bit. So first thing I'm going to do is damp a soft microfiber towel with some hot water. Then wipe off the surface of the sole plate. Then I'm going to spray a little bit of this all-purpose spray on there. And then with a Q-tip, I'm going to try to clean in between those holes as much as possible. Because it's often these tiny holes that if you don't clean the iron often enough, especially if you have problems with hard water, that calcium can build up in them and then it won't produce steam as efficiently as it would have before. And finally, once that's done, I'm going to give it a bit of a wipe with some hot water again. The final step is to make sure that it's completely dry. Okay, so now I did a bit of a manual process and now I want to see how that self-clean function works, so I've also tested that out. First thing to do is to fill in the iron with some water. Okay, it doesn't have to be too full. Then I need to make sure that the steam output is in the off position. Then it says to plug in the iron. Next up, put it to level 9. So now it says to wait 3 minutes, so I'm going to come back after that. Okay, after 3 minutes it says to unplug it, hold it over our sink with the sole plate facing down. Hold in the self-clean button. Then you want to shake it back and forth a few times, getting out as much of the water as possible. And then lastly it says to plug it back in, heat it for 2 minutes until all the remaining water has dried out. Okay, I think all the water has steamed out of it, so now I can turn it off. But for now, to finish this task off, I'm going to let it cool off and then I'll wipe off those white calcium deposits that have built up on the sole plate. Alright, it's a bit later, the iron has cooled off, so now I can give it that one final wipe and then have it completely clean. Voila, and now that's ready to be used again, nice and clean. These are good reminders to do tasks like this. It's also the first time I'm testing out this self-clean function. And because it's a reminder to do it now, then hopefully each time it'll be easier to do and it'll just be a natural thing to do more frequently, like every 2 weeks or every month, rather than every couple of months. Another area of your house that you probably neglect to clean often enough is the gas stove top. By that I mean the gas grill plates, like actually taking them off and giving them a deep clean, and the exhaust filters, and then also the oven tray, and the inside of the oven, and the door handle, etc. like that. Like, you probably take out the trays and give that a bit of a clean once in a while, but just really trying to get up all the grime and the grease. See how it has that sort of black burnt residue left on it? And it's not always so easy to get off. In simplistic terms, what I did was I filled the bathtub with some hot water, some liquid soap, and some detergent. And then I put all the pieces that I could take apart, put them in the bathtub, and then let let them soak for a few hours, and then that sort of allows the grime to kind of get off a bit easier when it comes to cleaning it. So after a few hours, I tried scrubbing it off. I used quite a generous amount of dish soap, and now I want to let that sink in for about 2 to 5 minutes before rinsing it all off. Then with the magic eraser, I tried scrubbing in the inside of the oven. You can also see a bit of that sticky sort of grease and residue in the oven compartment as well. And around the areas that like you necessarily can't take off. See what can come off of it. Let it dry, then put it all back together. Now another area that you might forget to clean, which is something that happened here as well, and now it's not really working so well, it's making this weird rattling noise, is the bathroom filter fan. I'm going to try to take it apart, take out all the dust, and hopefully that makes a huge difference. The first thing I want to try doing is using one of these electric air dusters, get in all the nooks and crannies and see if I can get most of the dust out this way. Fluorine again. I forgot to do a bit of a narration or kind of explaining what I was doing along the process. As I was doing these last two tasks, I think I just wanted them done as quickly as possible. It was also quite hot at the time. But for the first one, with the cleaning the trash bin, it's definitely necessary. Basically, I just took the bin upstairs to our bathroom and then put it apart, then gave it a bit of a rinse. Then I used a sponge and some dish soap and went over it twice, rinsed it. And let it dry overnight in the bathtub. Then when it was completely dry, put it back together. Oh, another thing that I completely forgot to clean for years was our fan. It was making a lot of noise over the summer and it was a bit bothersome. So briefly explain how I clean the tower fan. I first made sure it was unplugged. Then I went ahead and unscrewed all the screws that I could find until I could take up the back plate. Remember to grab little plates so you can collect all the screws that you'll be finding in there. If you need to remember how to put it back together, then I'd recommend taking a picture of it first, or maybe taking pictures of screws coinciding with where you took them out. After managing to take up the back plate, I took a small broom and just carefully tried to wipe off all the dust off of it. Okay, it is so dusty, I think I'm gonna continue it outside, which I should have really done from the beginning. Finally took it outside, then continued dusting it there. And after a while of doing this technique, I realized it was quite difficult to take out the rotating tower part unless I wanted it to be quite complicated to disassemble and assemble it back together. So I chose not to take it out. And then after doing a bit of research, I went ahead and ordered an electric air duster. I took the electric duster outside and then turned it on, went over the tower fan with it. Now, just a little side note with these electric dusters, number one tip that I found online is just to go ahead and order those corded ones rather than the cordless ones because it's a lot more powerful and the battery lasts a lot longer. And then I forgot to film myself putting it back together. Here it is. It worked a lot better over the summer, and I'm glad that I gave it a bit of a deep clean because it definitely made a huge difference afterwards. And so here are those 5 tasks complete. Now these aren't necessarily tasks that I'm going to be adding to my calendar to remind myself to do them every 2 weeks or something like that, but I'm hoping that after it's done at least once, it'll be a reminder to not wait another 3 years to do it again. So if you have some examples like this in your own home, then I'd say just go ahead and do them. If you're into videos about organizational tips, especially around the house, please consider subscribing. Would very much appreciate that. Anyways, thank you for watching again, and I will see you in the next one. Adios.